Good morning, good morning, YouTube family, survivors of abuse, and others who are checking out this channel. I just want to welcome you to my channel. It's taken me a while to do something like this. I started a couple groups on Facebook, and the one is a year, as of March 23rd, with almost 800 members. And I keep getting in Facebook jail, and I thought, well, let me just go over on YouTube and see if I can, tell my story and, begin my group over there where my chances of not getting kicked off will be greater. I'm going to try to stay away from the political stuff. I know it's a little difficult right now. I'm just focusing on, the past abuse and how it's, interfered with my life, the challenges it's given me, the therapy I've had to go into, and the insecurities that it caused, along with many other things. So the last time I was speaking with you, I had told you that we had moved from the country into a little town called Wyoming, and I was going to high school, 7th grade. I had failed 7th, so I started anew in a new school with the hopes that things would change, but they didn't. And at that time, I had asked my father for some chips, which he threw the bag at me. Now, he's not my real father. He was a stepfather, not even ever really taken me as his adopted daughter. He just came and married my mother and took over, basically. Like one of those kind of guys. Very controlling, an alcoholic with a lot of issues. So, I did get placed into a group home, but of course I wasn't aware of my social skills. I didn't have any because I'd been isolated from the time I was a little girl, locked in my room. Only socialization I had was in school, which because I didn't know how to talk to people, I didn't have friends or anything. It was just like I just lived in a constant state of fear, like in a bubble. So I did run away, and I was in New York City with a girl that I wasn't even really friends with in high school, but I guess we somehow connected and went to New York together. God knows how that came about, but anyway, I digress. So as she leaves me in the bus station, and I end up running into this gentleman, not even a gentleman, a man who gets me a room and then rapes me all night long, has plans to sell me to a pimp. I could hear him talking to someone. And I'm naive, but I wasn't that naive. And I knew I had to get away. And that's when I tried to get away. The first time I had clothing on and he caught me. The second time I had to use the bathroom, he made me go naked. And I ran and hid under the steps, a few floors down behind them until he thought I was gone for good, where I went back up and got my money where I'd hidden it and went onto the street. And I ran into who would become my husband's brother, and was crying, and he asked me what was wrong. His name was T. He was a tall black man, not good looking at all, kind of intimidating actually, but he was very kind to me that day, and he got me breakfast. Of course, I found out later that he also wanted to pimp me. That's a real big thing out there, I guess. I was a really pretty young lady. I didn't know at the time, and I was just ripe, a runaway. And so he took me back to his hotel room, and I met his brother and his brother's wife, and they had a little baby girl. She was cute as a button. Her name was Tina. And I spent the next maybe week with them, and I ended up starting to go out at night with Kenny, and he would take me to the movies, and I fell in love with him. I didn't want to, didn't mean to. It wasn't a planned thing, but he really just made me laugh. He was funny. He was good looking, and of course he was married, and I felt like shit down the road years later, when I finally grew up and had some maturity and realized that I destroyed a family. It nearly destroyed me, but again, I digress. If you're truly a person who has a conscience, later on in life, you will, ask for forgiveness, and you will realize all the people that you hurt, and you will want to make it right. And that's what I did. I did apologize to his his first wife after we'd split up, explained to her that I was very sorry, and thank God I was able to do that. Not everybody gets the opportunity to do that, so I thank God for that. But anyway, so I'm in Virginia, and actually, we traveled to North Carolina. I had gotten left in New York because I went out the night before we were supposed to leave to go back to Virginia, and I was they were telling me how to prostitute, and I was just a young thing. So I went out in my jeans and just looking like a regular girl from a little town, with all these other girls, and all of a sudden I get picked up by this guy who happens to be an undercover cop. Go to jail, and I'm hooked up to all these girls with net stockings, and here I am, just a backwoods little girl. Ain't looking like no prostitute, just somebody lost in the city. And by the time I found my way back to that hotel, because I really didn't know New York, it was like almost, when I got let out the next day, it took me all day to get back there, and they had already left because they thought that I had, had no plans of coming back. They didn't know what happened to me. So the guy next door who was friends with them offered me to stay with him. He planned to pimp me, and he wasn't picking no bones about it. And I had fallen asleep in his room when I heard the phone ring, and I heard him talking, and I could tell it was Kenny and the family asking about me. And I heard him say something, and I started yelling, I'm here, I'm here. And he handed me the phone. I told him what was going on, what happened. They drove all the way back from Washington, D.C., is where they had gotten, to pick me up and take me with them. Now, I'm sure his wife was very hurt about that. I wasn't thinking about who I was hurting back then. I was a little girl. I was a runaway. I was confused. I was lost. And I was looking for a protector and someone to love me. That's what I ran into. So we traveled to North Carolina, where he made his wife and daughter and brother go on to Virginia, and we stayed in North Carolina. This was like 3 weeks after we'd met now, and just continued on as a couple. Like, I ended up starting to prostitute and support us, and it's just like, some of the things I just did, like, it seems like I fell into it. And looking back now, had I fallen in love with somebody who was kind, who understood my background and could have, loved me and helped me heal, I would have went in a different direction. But this is the direction, and this is where I went, and I'm sorry, my eyes are itching so bad, guys. I apologize. I'm struggling so bad here. I've been itching for months, and I think it has to do with this apartment, and I'm trying to take care of it. That's another story for another day. But that's why I'm itching, and my eyes are all red and swollen because of that. So, it just was a lot of those years in getting to know him. I started to get into drugs and alcohol really bad. I would have blackouts, and I would rob and steal from people, and I learned how to be really a criminal. It's not any easy way to say it. I did things that I would never have done, had I been in my right state of mind. I was always messed up when I went out and did things. For the most part, I had to stay high or drunk or do something just to deal with the life the way it was. But I was in love, I thought, And so I was 15 when I met him, and we were staying in hotels all over the place. And it took a little while. One night we were out forging checks, and I just wanted to go get want to get a little bit more money. I'd gotten checks out of a Trix car, and I went out to forge one more at a Kroger's. And I wasn't able to do it. So on the way back, I see the cops pass me, and I run to hide. Of course, they thought that was suspicious, and they came to look for me, found me hiding under a tree, and took me to jail. Well, by that time now, I'm only 16 years old. I've been gone about a year. And when I get to jail, and I'm telling them I'm of age, and the girls in the jail are saying, no, don't do that, because you're like forgery and uttery. If you don't tell them you're a juvenile, they're going to throw the book at you. So I told them I was a runaway, that I was underage, and they sent me to a girls' home called Bon Air for Girls in Richmond, Virginia, where I spent the next 16 until I was 18, 3 weeks after my 18th birthday, before I was released. And I missed him very much. So in love, I thought, and I got in this place, and I ended up being locked down for so long with no contact with men, except for some dances we'd have with another place called Beaumont. The guys would come from Beaumont, another facility, to have dances on occasion, and I would get to, dance with a guy or something. So I ended up falling, or kind of falling, for a girl. It didn't last long. They separated us eventually. It didn't go very far, but that was my experience as, falling in love with a woman, which I am not into women, just so you know. I like my guys. I don't even like guys anymore. I like anybody. They call it asexual. I'm not interested in having a relationship with sex. I want to be a friendship with someone, get to know them, let them get to know me, become their friend, and then possibly if it leads somewhere, then that'll happen organically. I'm not trying to make things happen, find someone. I need to be okay, and the person who knows me needs to be okay with who I am and where I've been. I will not accept anything less. So that's all I'm going to say.